Well, it's time for my evening cigar. Tonight I am having an A.J. Fernandez Enclave Broadleaf. One of my favorite blenders, A.J. Fernandez. And I'm on the road. I'm in the Texas Hill Country in a place called Fredericksburg, Texas. Left early this morning out of Houston, stopped three or four places along the way, got here this afternoon. And I'm sitting outside my hotel. It's kind of nice. Got a bunch of rocking chairs out here in the front. You can smoke cigars, which I enjoy. On the way up here, I stopped in Johnson City. And I stopped at the LBJ National Park, named after President Lyndon Johnson. Not where his library is, that's in Austin. This is the national park. And across the street from the main national park headquarters is his boyhood home. Then there's some other things to see and do in Johnson City. There's an old motorcycle museum there that is really cool. It was closed today, but I did stick my grubby little face up next to the window, look inside, and checked it out. Hopefully I'll get back here one day when it's open, because they did have a lot of really cool motorcycles in there. And I did what I told everybody to do on my last podcast, which is if you're ever in Johnson City, stop by and pay your respects to Captain Cicero Perry, the toughest man in Texas. Interesting story. He's an old Texas Ranger. Was wounded over 20 times, but that's just part of of his history. He's buried there in the Masonic Cemetery in Johnson City. So I stopped by it, paid my respects to Captain Perry. Then I headed up here into Fredericksburg. Now it's about 30 miles from Johnson City to Fredericksburg, 35 miles, something like that. And between there and here, there's a little place called Stonewall, Texas, and that's where LBJ had his ranch. And it is a state park. Now they called it the Texas White House. Kind of like Trump has Mar-a-Lago, and everybody has their little houses where they do business when they're not in D.C. LBJ did his out here at the ranch, and it's a state park, and you can tour it and everything. I think the house itself is closed for renovations right now, but it'll be open again. And you can tour the ranch and see his ranch and all kinds of stuff. And then when I got into Fredericksburg, I stopped at the Martin Scott State Historic Site. Now, that's the site of an old Army fort. It was one of the first, if not the first, Army fort in the state of Texas. And it was real important because when settlers would leave San Antonio and headed west, when they got here into where this fort and this real small community of Fredericksburg it was the last place they could stop and get supplies before they headed west and went out to El Paso. And if you don't know about Texas, between here and El Paso is a long, long ways. And you all remember there was Comanches raiding at the time and all kinds of stuff. It was dangerous. Even today, by car, it's like 5 hours from here to El Paso. It's a long ways. So imagine, being in a wagon and your wife and kids are walking behind the wagon because you didn't want to put too much weight in your wagon. That was for goods. they did things the rough ways in the old days. So it was real interesting. The fort's real interesting. There's 4 or 5 buildings there, but only one original building is still standing. That's the old guardhouse. And there's like 5 jail cells in there, and I went and looked inside there, and I would not want to be in those jail cells. They're like 3 feet wide, 6 feet long, and 10 feet tall. And nothing in there but a bucket to take care of business. And a little bitty slit of a window that's like 3 or 4 inches wide and about 6 inches or 8 inches tall. And it's like 10 feet off the ground. So you can't look out of it. You can just get some sunlight every now and then. But after that, I drove into town and checked out things and got my bearings, stopped by the visitor center a little bit. Went to a place that I hadn't been to in over 20 years, a place called Texas Jack's. It is a Western store outfitter and sells boots and hats and belts and dresses for the women and purses and just all kinds of doodads. And being Texas, it sells guns and ammo. And when I first found Texas Jacks many, many years ago, over 20 years ago, I walked in there and I was like, oh, that's a cool little store. The wife was all looking at antiques or something. I don't remember. So I wandered into the store, and at the back of the store, I see all these guns. I'm like, ooh. And I saw something that caught my eye and said, ooh, I want that. How much is it? I'm going to take it right now. And I did. It was a coach gun. If you don't know what a coach gun is, it's the old westerns where the guys driving a stagecoach and you got a guy sitting next to him with a sawed-off shotgun. That's a coach gun. It's a double-barreled 12-gauge, about 18 inches long. And nowadays, Texas Jack sells some modern handguns. Back then, they didn't. But the majority of what he sells today is still Western replica firearms. I mean, they're fully functioning. They're made by different manufacturers around the world. Cimarron makes a bunch of them. We're talking like the old six-shooters and the old Wyatt Earp style guns and the Sharps rifles and the old shotguns and the buffalo hunting guns. And just, there's a big demand for it because there's people that put on competitions with these firearms. And he's got a great selection. So I had to go into Texas Jacks and check out the firearms. And I didn't buy anything, but man, I wanted to. There was some stuff in there that would look really, really nice. But I behaved. I didn't buy another gun, so I'm good. And then I went to a cigar shop, a place called Tobacco House. Tobacco House. Owned by a guy named Bob Kripe or Kripe. I'm not sure how you pronounce the last name. Kreipe. Said he opened it in 2015, I think, but he's got a great cigar shop in there. You know, whenever I'm traveling, I got to hit up local cigar shops. And he's got a good walk-in humidor, really nice selection of cigars, a big, huge seating area, so a cigar lounge, you can go in there and smoke your cigar after you buy it. And he's got a full bar because he's got a liquor license, so you go in there and have a drink, smoke a cigar, watch some TV. You got an outside seating area, outside patio as well. He sells a lot of Texas whiskeys. One from Garrison Brothers, which is just right down the road here. Garrison Brothers Whiskey has their distillery not very far from here. And he's got a good selection of Texas whiskeys. Now, if you don't know about Fredericksburg, Texas, or this part of Texas, Texas has a lot of wineries. East Texas has wineries all over the place. But I swear, this is like the Napa Valley of Texas or something, because and I'm not going to exaggerate here, I'm going to tell you the truth, between Johnson City and Fredericksburg, which is 35, 37 miles, something like that, at least 50 wineries. Means every quarter mile there's another winery. I mean, they're everywhere. And that's not all the little highways and farm to market roads and everything else that branch off. They're up and down those things as well. And they're on the other side of Fredericksburg. In downtown, there's tasting rooms, and all these wineries have wineries along with bed and breakfasts and gift shops and tasting rooms. And I don't know anything about wine. I know if I drink wine, which is not very often, I'm a brown liquor guy. I like whiskey and dark rums, and the occasional nice cold beer, but I don't know anything about wine. I know that if I drink it, it's like, it's not bad, or don't like this one. That's it. That's all I know about wine. But man, they are all over the place here. And this is wine country, and people come out here by the droves to visit all these vineyards and wineries. This is a big touristy place. It didn't used to be. It used to be an old German country town with a couple of decent German restaurants, and somebody opened a winery, and that was, there's a winery in town. And but now it is wall-to-wall tourists in the weekends. If you're going to come here, I would highly recommend you do it during the week. It is crowded on the weekends. But there is a lot to see and do here. I mean, there's a lot of nature areas around here. There's Enchanted Rock and the Old Tunnel State Park, and a lot of cool little towns within about a 30 to 40 mile radius that you can visit from Fredericksburg. That's just right here in the general vicinity, like where Stonewall is in Johnson's Ranch, which is what 10, 12 minutes up the road. There's an elephant preserve where you can go out and see the elephants. I mean, there's just tons of stuff to see and do around here. And I'm going to do some of that tomorrow. I'm scheduled to go to I'm not scheduled, I'm on my own schedule. I'm doing what I want to do. But tomorrow morning, I am going to go hit up the Museum of the Pacific War. If you don't know, Admiral Nimitz, Commander-in-Chief Pacific Forces during World War II, was born and raised in Fredericksburg. Years ago, the Nimitz Museum was here in his house. They've since outgrown that, renamed it to the Museum of the Pacific War. It's spread over multiple buildings now, and I'm going to go check it out tomorrow and do some other things. Excuse me. I smoked a lot of cigars today. My voice sounds like crap. I'll be here for a day or two and just checking the area out and visiting some places and seeing what all they have to offer. So that's it for this evening. I'm going to finish up my cigar. Hopefully my voice sounds a little better tomorrow. And we'll talk to you then. So y'all take care.